What if the reason you feel anxious when you rest is because your nervous system doesn't believe that it deserves to? What if your worth was wired from childhood to only show up when you're doing something for someone else? What if you've mistaken being needed for being loved? Today we're going there because overfunctioning is not a personality trait. It's a trauma response. Let's slow this down. If you're here, there's a good chance that love has always felt conditional. You had to earn it, you had to prove it, and you had to keep performing for it. And you may be the kind of person who handles everything. You may be the kind of person who gets stuff done, the kind of person that everyone leans on. And yet you're tired, you're resentful, and you're quietly burnt out. And you might even know why. But today we're going to look underneath the surface of that pattern. And we're going to do this not to judge you, and we're going to do this not to shame you, but we're going to do this to finally understand it so we can begin to change it. So let's start here. What is overfunctioning? In simple terms, overfunctioning is when you consistently do more than your share. And you do this emotionally, physically, mentally, or logistically. And you do this in relationships. And you become the manager, the planner, the fixer, the problem solver. And you take responsibility for things that aren't actually yours to carry. So this shows up when you apologize when you didn't do anything wrong. You clean up other people's messes emotionally or literally. You anticipate needs before they're spoken. You feel panic when you can't help. And when you feel guilty when you rest. So does this sound familiar at all? If so, that's not a coincidence. And this pattern didn't come out of nowhere. Because overfunctioning often begins in childhood. Specifically, it develops in children who were raised in chaotic, unpredictable homes, had emotionally immature or overwhelmed caregivers, were praised for what they did, not who they are, or for kids who felt responsible for the emotions of the adults around them. And instead of being protected, these children became protectors. And instead of being comforted, they were doing the comforting. And instead of being allowed to be messy, they became hyper-responsible. And what this is called is parentification. And emotional parentification is when a child becomes the emotional caretaker for a parent. They listen to their parents' problems. They absorb their parents' moods. They become the emotional support system, even if no one says it out loud. And what does this teach a child? What it teaches a child is, if I want to be safe, if I want to be loved, if I want to belong, then I have to be useful. I have to make others feel better. And I can't have needs of my own. And this is so damaging to a child because the child's nervous system never learns to just be. The child's nervous system is always scanning for what others need. And the child's nervous system doesn't feel safe unless it's doing something to make sure that everyone else is okay. So then in turn, what happens is as adults, those children become overfunctioners. And those children are the ones as adults who can't receive help, struggle to relax, feel uncomfortable when others give to us, and attach to partners who need fixing because that feels so familiar. So let's talk a little bit about how this shows up in adult relationships. Let's just start with dating. If you're someone who overfunctions in relationships, here's what that might look like. It might look like you choosing partners who need emotional caretaking, who are inconsistent with their affection, partners who expect you to do the emotional labor, partners who rarely meet your needs but say thank you for you meeting theirs. And you might feel anxious when your partner is distant, responsible for your partner's moods, guilty for having your own needs, or afraid to ask for support or help. And you might act hyper-capable, self-sacrificing, always on, and you might feel like the glue that holds everything together. But here's the truth that no one tells you. Being the glue only works if the other person is willing to be held together. So then that cycle of overfunctioning looks like they take. So you give more, they pull back. So then you panic and you double down. So then they feel smothered. So then what happens is they leave or they emotionally withdraw. And then you blame yourself and then you go and repeat the pattern again. And I want you to know that this isn't love. This is a trauma bond that's built on usefulness. And I want you to know that you can't fix this by doing more. Because here's the most painful truth. You cannot earn love from someone who only values you when you're useful. And no matter how much you overperform, overgive, or overfunction, it will never make someone emotionally available who isn't. You are not the problem, but your partner might be keeping you stuck. So how do you heal this pattern? Let's talk about that. Let's talk about healing. And this isn't just about awareness. It's about changing the way your nervous system responds to love, rest, and self-worth. So one thing you can do is name the pattern without shame. So say it out loud. I've learned to overfunction in relationships, and I'm ready to learn something new. Because you're not broken, you're a human who adapted. And now you get to unlearn what is no longer serving you. Another thing you can do is interrupt the urge to fix. So next time someone comes to you and they share a problem, try doing this. Instead of jumping into fix mode, say something like, that sounds really hard. I'm here with you. And then that's it. Stop there. You do not have to fix their life to be worthy of connection. And you get to show up with your presence and not performance. Another thing you can do is practice receiving. And you can do this by just starting small. So when somebody offers help, instead of saying, no, I'm good, say something like, actually, thank you. That would mean a lot. And receiving will feel uncomfortable at first, but that's not because it's wrong. It's because it's unfamiliar to you. Another thing you can try to do is reparent your inner child who had to perform. So I want you to try to close your eyes and picture the younger you who felt like love had to be earned. What did they need? Try writing them a letter. Tell them something like, you don't have to work to earn love. That you are safe now. That you are worthy even when you rest. That I'm not leaving you behind. Another thing you can try to do is to set boundaries without guilt. Because you are allowed to say no. You are allowed to rest. And you are allowed to disappoint someone else to honor yourself. You're not selfish. You're healing. And I want you to know that there is a new way forward. So just imagine this. Imagine a relationship where you're loved even when you're not helpful. A relationship where you can show up messy. A relationship where your rest is respected. A relationship where your being is enough, not your doing. Imagine that relationship, because that type of relationship does exist. But you can't find that type of relationship until you believe you are worthy of that type of relationship. And that starts with how you treat yourself, because you can't control others. So I want to leave you with this. You can't control how others see you. You can't make someone else value your needs. You can't force someone to understand your pain. You can't fix them, but you can control how you show up. And you can stop overfunctioning. And you can honor your limits. And you can choose love that doesn't require your exhaustion as proof. And you can change the story with one boundary, one rest day, one unearned yes at a time. I'll see you on the next video.